Welcome back. If you just joined us, it is Daybreak Africa, and this morning we're taking a look at a very, very important topic, which is a greater Nigeria, citizens' role towards a better nation. Now, what way to begin the show than to quote one of America's greatest presidents, the late J.F. Kennedy, when he said, and I quote, "Ask not what your nation will do for you or your country will do for you, but what you can do for your country." End of quote. Now, the focus has often been that citizens will ask what government can do for them. That cry is always there. If you started the show from the beginning, you will actually hear Angela say that. That has always been the question being asked by citizens. But the mistake Nigerians make is the fact that leaders are not aliens. They are humans. These are people that we voted for to lead us. They are fathers, they are brothers, they are sisters, they are husbands, they are friends, they are neighbors. So today on the show, we shall be taking a look at the role of citizen in creating the nation that they desire. And to help us further the discourse this morning is a guest. He is Dr. Ajishola Omojeje, a historian and political analyst. He is a senior lecturer in African history, culture and historiography, Department of History and Diplomatic Studies at DME Federal University of Education, Ondo, Nigeria. It's so nice to have you on Daybreak Africa today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure meeting you also. Good morning.
Good morning. So, that's the question that we're asking this morning, or like Angela said, the mentorship that we want to get from you this morning. And like I love to do it, most times when we talk, you know, people wonder if it is something that is personal, but when you quote something someone else has said, then it gives us a direction towards what we're talking about. Now, while I was doing my research, there was a question, role of citizens in nation building. And someone said, and I'm quoting, it says, "The progress of a nation greatly depends on its people. Every citizen is obligated to abide by the law and order of the nation, as well as perform their duties as a responsible citizen to maintain harmonies, coexistence, or harmonious coexistence, and take the nation forward." This is not my word. This is a word of someone who sat down and was thinking about the role of citizens in nation building. So on that foundation, let us take a look as a historian. Let us go back a little bit and take a look at the vision of our founding fathers for Nigeria, the greatest nation on this continent. Where two rivers meet, the people shall be great. I hold it so dear to my heart. River Niger, River Benue. So I think that quotation from the Holy Book is talking about Nigeria, where two rivers meet. The people shall be great. We are great people, a great nation. It is no mistake that for every 10 person you see in the world, before it was just one, we're about 3 is a Nigerian. In some statistics, 4 are Nigerians. It is no mistake. It is no mistake that Nigeria is the greatest black nation in the world, the greatest black nation in Africa. It is no mistake. So I would want you to take us on by picking the mind of our founding fathers, the vision they had for Nigeria, and of course where we're at right now. Before we delve into the role of citizens, probably that will give us a roadmap to our discussion.
Thank you, madam. You see, Nigeria as a land and as a people was destined to be a great nation, whether we like it or not. And our founding fathers, they had a vision that is blossom, that is very good, that we are going to have a country that is going to be great, even greater than those countries that had existed before or existing before Nigeria. And that was the reason why the voice of our foreign minister, first foreign minister, and who happened to be a major voice in the drafting of the Charter of the Organization of African Unity then, was Vociferous Jajanwachuku. He was a very good person. In fact, he was a pivot on which others gravitate. People in Africa like Hubert Maga of Dahomey, like President Philbert Siranana of Malagasy, like Rastafari Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, they cannot toy with what Jajawashoko used to say during that period, because they respected Nigeria. And when you look at Nigeria at the very first period of independence, talking of 1960, 62, 61, 62, 63, it was a mark of, flamboyancy. You have to look at Tafawa Balewa going to the America, and you have to look at the encomium poured on him and his entourage by Lyndon Johnson first, the vice president, and President John Fitzgerald Kennedy at that period. So they had a lofty aim for Nigeria. Lofty aim. And even before them, people like Awolowo, people like Asikiwe, people like Enahoro, people like Bukazana, Deep Charima, all those people, they had very good vision for Nigeria. They are citizens of Nigeria, projecting good, future for the country. But along the line, there was a kind of mix-up, probably because of the exuberance of oil, and probably because of the way the colonialists paved for Nigeria, and the trap they set, and then the way our leaders are, going into it cheapishly, and then probably because of greed and avarice. That was what brought us to this area. I don't believe that the citizens of Nigeria did not project good things, but along the line there was a kind of derailment, and that is it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting. I like that history.
Mm-hmm.
But next, let's delve into the matter fully. Just like she stated earlier, that the progress of a nation is dependent on its people.
Mm.
That is, they're expected to follow rules and regulations that govern them, and all of that. Now, before we brought you into the studio, we already talked about this topic, and I made mention to her where people believe that the leaders are the problem and not the people. Mm. Meanwhile, I also made it clear to her that also the leaders are also people. Mm-hmm. It is believed that these leaders are people from the past, and then they're not giving way for the younger ones to come in and all of that. So I really want to get your perspective on all of this.
Yeah, thank you, my sister. The fact remains that people are people anywhere, whether they are leaders. It is from the people that leaders are elected. But there's a difference between elected people and people who elected them. There's a difference between the government. They always, when we blame the government, they will say we are also the government. We are not the government. We are not the government. We are not, you see, operators of the government of a country is different from the people that the government is, legislating or operating on. You see, generally, people are like gods that is used in the traditional days to fetch water. It has a long neck like this and a big belly that you can store water inside. But that god, when you put it inside the river, it will push the neck up. It will not naturally want to drink that water. And that explains the reason why it is said that gods don't want to drink water until it is forced. Until when you force it. So, I've explained times and times over the communist ideology and how it works. What is plain in Nigeria is as a result of the fault of our leaders, whether we like it or not. Because the people are ready. And that explains the reason I always ask some questions. The questions have been, asked by many. Can you change Nigeria without changing Nigerians? You cannot change Nigeria without changing Nigerians. For instance, let's take corruption that has become like egregious graft that festers with decent ferocity. Let us take it, for example. What is corruption? Corruption has as its sibling greed, avarice, nepotism, parochialism, man no man, aiding, abetting. Look at what is happening. Is it the people that is shielding corrupt leaders, or corrupt leaders that are shielding corrupt leaders? So these are antitheses to development, especially from us. When Nigeria got independence in 1960, alongside others, they formed the Organization of African Unity, OAU. When the Organization of African Unity was named, it was President Hubert Maga of Dahomey that said this association should be called Organization of African Unity. But quickly, President Philbert Tsiranana of Madagascar jumped in and said, no, it should not be called Organization of African Unity alone. It should be called Organization of Africa and Malagasy Union. But the chairman, Rastafari, Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, said, no, in the article, there will be a portion there that will take care of Malagasy. Why I'm saying this is that he's a leader. As a leader, he said, I don't want my country to be a bad participant in this organization. If you study the map of Africa, you know where Malagasy is. Very distant from Africa, but it was incorporated into Africa. And that explained the reason why Malagasy became part of African Union. He was a leader. He loved his people. But look at what corruption did to Congo. Congo under Patrice Lumumba. Look at what Mobutu Sese Seko did in connivance with the Central Intelligence Agency in the US to destabilize and exterminate Patrice Lumumba. For God's sake, look at the humongous wealth amassed by Mobutu Sese Seko. Look at what he put up as edifice. He had in his compound giraffe, snake, lions, and everything. But what becomes of it? Kukubanga, Wasabanga. What becomes of it? So it is the leaders. When we come to Nigeria now, it is the leaders that are dictating the affairs of our people. For instance, now, Nigeria cannot even manufacture matches. I nearly wept when I learned that Nigeria is importing toothpick, not even toothpick, this thing, the one that is used to pluck palm kernels from trees. They were importing it from Malaysia. Malaysia that came to Nigeria to obtain 20 seedlings in the 60s. And Malaysia today is the largest exporter of palm oil. They use palm oil to transform themselves. Look at Lee Kuan Yew. Is he not a leader in Singapore? Lee Kuan Yew was a very small country. No river, no water, nothing. So these are the things. It is not the people. If the people were trained in the right direction, then they will bring up what will make the nation to be great.
You said something when you started. I think I want to go back and refer to it,
okay,
as we talk about your answer to the question that Angela asked. You mentioned a trap by the colonial masters.
Yeah.
As I was trying to find out the foundation of our founding fathers, you mentioned that there was a trap, and that Nigerian leaders
sheepishly walked into it.
The question is, what is this trap that you talked about, and are they still working within that same concept that you talked about?
Yes, exactly.
So is a two-way thing. What is the trap you referred to, and how are we still, walking sheepishly, within that circle?
Yeah, the trap is economic impoverishment, economic warfare. It's a very big trap that the Western world has used to destabilize Africa, Nigeria inclusive. When the Organization of African Unity was formed, it was formed to be a third force in the international milieu. Then the world was a bipolar world. After 1945, after the Second World War, the world was divided into two, the communist East and the capitalist West. So the Organization of African Unity, Africa wanted to project a third force. But it was economic warfare that was used to destabilize. And it has its roots in the Bretton Woods Agreement of pre-1945. That placed emphasis. It has been known since the colonial days, since the slave trade days, when African nations were taken as slaves, depopulated, killed, maimed, and they made to pass through horrendous things. When they are taking people away from Africa to work in their plantation, they will not work where they are, but they will be contributing to the economic growth of the country in which they are. Now, immediately after independence, when they knew, because the aim is that they should be obtaining raw materials from Africa, Nigeria inclusive, and that where they are obtaining raw material, they should also make the place dumping ground for their finished products. So what they do is that they were giving aids, grants to Africa. And when you take that grant, it's like you are entering into a trap. Remember that Nigeria is still basking in the euphoria of IMF, even since 1985. And we are surfacing the conditionalities, and the conditions are very severe, very harsh. Look at what we are passing through in Nigeria now. It's not normal. It's not a normal situation. So that's why I said, and in as much as we are still, as much as our leaders are still borrowing from there, we are still enmeshing ourselves in the trap. That is why I said the trap of the Western world is still what is making Nigeria to be a giant with clawed leg.
Giant with dwarf legs.
Not dwarf. Dwarf has leg that is strong. Is only a dwarf. Omar Bongo was a dwarf. That late president of Gabon. He was a dwarf, but he performed great things. There are dwarfs that carry weight, but giant with clawed leg, the French will say le géant au pied d'agile. when a giant has clawed leg, easily and quiet, it will just,
there's trouble.
There's trouble. So that is it. So that conditions. Look at the conditions now. High teens of dollar, more than the currency of such nation like Nigeria. Devaluation of the currency, and then economic impoverishment. An average Nigerian, there is purely in Nigeria now, the rich and the middle class has been removed. It's either you are rich or you are poor. Those who are having just one car cannot even manage the car. Petrol is being sold at the rate of between 1,000 and 1,500 naira now. No refinery is working. There is disparity between each of the segments that make up the country. Insecurity everywhere. So it is just like that. The trap is still what is working coupled with our own greed and avarice that is playing.
Well, earlier you made mention of corruption as one of the problems we have with our leaders today. But however, we will discover that even with the constant protests that we have and every sit down we want to have with the government, one body or the other, trying to resolve one pending issue or the other, there is no solution to the problem. However, corruption keeps eating deep into our governance in Nigeria. How do you think citizens of the country can actually hold government responsible without the option of election or protests?
Without the option of election
or
protests is a Herculean task, but it is achievable. Why I say it is a Herculean task is that there is no easy walk to freedom. Every man will have to pass through the valley of the shadow of death times and times over before he reached the mountain top of his heart's desire. That is why it is a Herculean task, because when you go and protest, the powers that be will cut you off. Just like Odewale said to Adiroko, he said, don't rise too early, my son. He said, if you rise too early, the dew of life will cut you off. So you have to do that. And then you say without the option of election. Well, even if it is election, the people are they are now helpless, not even hopeless. They are helpless in such a way that it has been played to such a way that whatever you give, and you know that we don't understand things the same thing, and it is said it is ignorant to be wise, or it is foolish to be wise. Yeah? Where foolishness abounds, when all are stupid, when all are foolish, if you claim to be a wise person, you will be the most foolish person, and that is it. So that's why I say it is a Herculean task. But the way the citizens are going through it is just the way that we followed to independence. That is why I said it is not a very easy thing, because there will have to be election and people have to participate. One of the duties of a good citizen is to participate in election.
You know why I made mention of the election is, you know, the way our elections run these days, it's not totally reliable. When we have the issue of vote buying and
yes,
manipulation of results.
That vote buying, that's vote buying. Somebody call it stomach infrastructure. a person that is hungry, you see, a drowning man will cling to the least straw, thinking it will, bail him out of the doldrum. It's a communist ideology. It's an extreme communist ideology, even more extreme than that of Joseph Stalin. You know what Joseph Stalin said concerning the proletariat, the electorate. He compared them to a chicken that has been stripped of his feathers. He said you should make them helpless, that anything you give to them is what they take. And that is it. Let me tell you, we are sitting here talking about politics, talking about sanity, talking about what is good. If election comes and money is introduced, it is then I will know your mind. It is then you will know my mind. Because who doesn't like good things? Everybody loves good things. By the time they brandish it to you, you will change your mind. Because you will be left with only two options, either to bend or to break. And that is exactly the road to there, where you become the operators, one of the operators of the government, is so narrow, it's so ludicrous, it's so tortuous. But by the time you get there, you will meet very many people that speak the same language, the language of politics. And that is why they make, politics to be the exposition of the complexities of man. It is only when you are there that your mind is known. And they make democracy to be the madness of many for the benefit of few.
Well, before we continue, I guess we'll have to go for a short break. When we get back, we'll be having the second part of this discussion, so do stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It is Daybreak Africa, where we're taking a look at a very, very important topic, which is the role of citizens in nation building. And our guest is still here, Dr. Omojeje. Before the break, he did give us a quote about democracy being the madness.
Democracy is the madness of many for the benefit of few.
Okay. I've never heard that before, but again, we learn every day. Now, talking about the role of citizens, we cannot talk about this topic without referring to the youth of Nigeria. The youth of any nation. They are the bedrock, they are the strength, the breath of any nation. And it is important for us to take a look at that demography. As Angela said, today you've come to mentor. We called you here to mentor, and they are watching. Let us take a look at the role of the Nigerian youth in nation building. Now, I cannot confidently talk about the demography without talking about the latest reality of our times. We talk about, on this stage, we'll talk about the Nigerian dream. The Americans have the American dream. Oftentimes I ask myself, what is the Nigerian dream? And when we talk about the Nigerian dream, the focus is always the Nigerian youth. Because they, at the end of the day, will be the tires that propel this vehicle of vision, this vehicle of fulfillment and the desire that we want to see in the great Nigeria of our dreams. Let us take a look at the role of the Nigerian youth in nation building, in creating the Nigerian dream. Again, our reality is the corruption you've spoken about. Our reality right now is internet fraud. Our reality right now is kidnapping for ransom. Old people don't do it. Our reality right now is insecurity at all levels. It goes on and on. This is what we woke up one morning and discover in a nation as sweet as Nigeria, for those who like to talk about our founding fathers, those who lived in the past. But this is our present now. So I would want you to let us understand why this is our reality and the role of the Nigerian youth in this reality.
Well, the youths ordinarily are the strength of every nation, and the part they have to play in the building of a nation like Nigeria is very, very high. Any country that want to develop would definitely rely on the activities of the youth. Why the reality of Nigeria is like this is because of the orientation. If there is proper orientation of the youths, then the direction will be towards building a viral nation. But one thing that is very important is that Nigeria places emphasis on let's look for money at all time. Oil, this thing, it is over dependence of oil that brought about the kind of corruption that we are witnessing today. And that changed the perspective. Everybody want to have a dip in that oil. And if you are not able to do it, any other things that will, boil up your pocket, they think of their pocket more than. And that explains the reason why it is being noticeable and manifesting in insecurity, in kidnapping. You will discover that even this kidnapping, there are some people that are behind it. It's just like the insect that is dancing on the surface of the river has its drummer beneath the river. Insecurity is like the Obi of Abo during the slave trade era. When they said he should stop the slave trade, he said if the British, those who are buying it, stop demanding for slaves, we will stop selling for them. There is a Greek proverb that say quid respuat pencuniam quiddator. Nobody rejects money when offered. That's why I explained the other time. That's what brought about the madness that I told you. They make people to be mad for few to enjoy. You only need to see it's only that I didn't explain it. You only need to see electioneering campaign and you see how people make themselves mad just because of one person that is contesting. And it's only one person and probably few that will enjoy the booty of democracy at that time. So the thing is, we have lofty aim, but the youths are not properly directed. They are not properly oriented. It's an interwoven, it's a kind of labyrinth. If the government, if they give proper orientation to the youths, for instance, now, why are we going abroad to go and engage in jobs that we call menial jobs here? If you know how to make clothes, dress, or you are called be a tailor or a hairdresser, when you get there, you become millionaire because of what you will be earning there, and you will be working. Yet here, you will be suffering. Why don't we make such a thing? Why don't we create a kind of education that we place emphasis on works that may not be cognitively oriented, work that are psychomotively oriented, work that are affectively oriented? What are the functions of our technical schools? I don't think there are technical schools again now. Then what are the work of the polytechnics? When polytechnics is offering courses in mass communication, is offering courses in banking and finance, polytechnic, where we're supposed to where they are supposed to be technical work ongoing there. So it's a misplacement of priority. The realities will not be able to achieve if there is no proper orientation. That's it.
All right. We are known for diversity when it comes to Nigeria. We have diversity of ethnicity and as well as religion, and we are known to be very committed when it comes to these things. But what we fail to understand sometimes is the fact that we can actually use this to our advantage when it comes to national development. But from your own perspective, I want to know how you think that we could use these areas to boost the nation for nation building.
You mean ethnic diversity?
Exactly.
And then religion?
Exactly.
Yes, these are weapons that, for instance,
You called it a weapon. You just called religion.
Yes. Yeah, we could call it a weapon. It's not leather. It's not leather weapon. They are economic weapon that could be used.
Okay.
It's not leather weapon. It's not weapon of warfare.
Okay.
But
we can saying it in a
the
other way.
No. I'm saying it could be
in
used. It could be used economically as a weapon. When God say our weapon of warfare is not carnal. So if we can fight. We can fight war without shooting a gun. War, ideological warfare. Yeah, it's ideological warfare. So this is, I mentioned economic warfare the other time that the West are using against us.
Yes.
And so we can use our economy, we can use our religion, we can use our diverse ethnics as good weapon to assuage ourselves up, to make Nigeria great. For instance, there is what we call comparative cost advantage in economics. What you can produce in the days of old, in the 60s, there is marketing board. We have coconut, we have the groundnut pyramid in the north. I think the Kano then was the center of groundnut, and they were the largest producer of groundnut in the whole world at that time. While the West boasts of cocoa, and you know what they use cocoa to do, many things like that. And so we can be comparatively advantageous to each other. We can use that without relying on the other. There's a state they call food basket of the nation. Where is the food that they are producing? Is it not the place that has become haven for insecurity, for terrorists, for banditry? So we can use that. Then religion. Look at the way we are propagating our religion, for God's sake. We are using religion to such an extent that people are fighting for God. Can you fight for God? It is God that is fighting for us. Then we so much place emphasis on imported religion at the expense of our religion, our own religion. We have our own ways of reaching God, which is very good. There are the taboos and totems that are inherent in this religion are enough to caution us. This corruption wouldn't have manifested than this. It wouldn't have become gargantuan if we had passed through our own traditional religion to see God. In the days of old, a farmer who want to sell bunches of banana will place the bunches there, and then he will place a bunch a little distance and place the amount of calories he want to sell the banana there. Those that are going will just pick one, put the calories there. Nobody will steal. Why? Because Ogun is not slow to anger. Shango is not slow to anger. It will take its vengeance instantly. But they know the Lord is slow to anger but abound in steadfast love. And that explains the reason why our politicians are swearing by kissing the Bible and probably the Quran. They can't kiss Ogun like that. They cannot kiss Shango like that. Or Ayelala, that will make them to swell. So that is it. Why are we going away from that? That is exactly what is making corruption to fester, like I said the other time. So for these realities to be achieved, we have to go back to the roots. We can use our ethnicity is to be to our advantage, and it America comprised of many ethnic nationalities: the Rocos, the Bruneys, the Pawnees, the Incas, the Mayas, the Teotihuacans, those that we can call the Indo-Americans. They were there, but they used such to their advantage. Are there no Muslims in America? Are there no Muslims there? Are there here? They will place emphasis on pilgrimage. When they come themselves, titles, all those kind of things. These are things that doesn't bring anything to the economic development of a nation. But when we do it the way it should be done, proper orientation, good orientation, those who fell by the wayside, they should be treated the way they should be treated. It is then everything will go. I learned in Singapore, if you go to Singapore and you are corrupt, the law is there to take its course, irrespective of whom you are. But in Nigeria, look at our justice system. They will place it there. That woman, they will blindfold her, and then she will take the sword and the mayor. They will write there, will be just, it be remedium. Where there is wrong, there is remedy. But it is used in another way to pervert justice. Look at what they call plea bargaining. Somebody stole trillions of naira. You say he should go and pay just 1 million and go, because of the way he is. Look at what is trending on our social media now. between Bobrisky, very dark man, the law enforcement agent, and Femi Falana. Look at the way they were treating it. For God's sake, when they said they said Bobrisky should go to jail, and then they now said some people were saying they put him in another jail, and then they were saying they don't know which jail they will put either him or her. For God's sake, they ask the person, what gender are you? He said, this is the gender. If that is the gender, now let that continue. Why are we perverting? And then they were doing all this abracadabra. Before you know what is happening, to go. Look at our corrupt politicians. Look at our governors. For God's sake, Yaya Bello is a free person now. He can walk. But before then, all this kind of thing. So if people are seeing it, and they said, if big rivers are carrying bridges away, sweeping bridges away, big rivers, then small rivers will be sweeping leaves. Abi, is it not the same thing? So, okay, if it is that, because I said the other time, I said corruption has become like a egregious graft that is festering with dismal ferocity. There is no area, no sector that corruption is not manifesting. Look at our examination. People are, engaging the service of mercenaries to write examination even for primary 6 pupils in order to enhance their chances of getting admission. And they are not saying it as corruption if it is benefiting them. It is not corruption if it is benefiting them. But they are making excuses if it does not benefit them.
Now, this brings us to the crux of our discussion. How do we create the Nigeria of our dreams? How do we create the Nigerian dream? How do we create the Nigeria that we desire? How do we go back to status quo? How do we take a peek at the heart of heroes past who laid a foundation for this country? I'm talking about our founding fathers. How do we create that dream for Nigeria that we desire? Again, I talked about the youth. Angela asked a question about ethnicity, about religion. And the people that will create this change, like we've already established, are not aliens. We're talking about citizens with blood in their veins. You talk about leadership, we talk about government. Again, you did say that there's a difference between those who elect and those who are elected, but you didn't tell us the difference between those who elect and those who are elected. Again, we're talking about the role of citizens in creating a great Nigeria. How do we begin to change the story? How do we begin to change it? How do we begin to create the Nigeria that we desire? You did ask a question, is it possible to change Nigeria without changing Nigerians?
Yeah.
How do we begin to change the mindset, the psyche, the outlook of the Nigerian to create the Nigeria that we want? We oftentimes, when we talk about, we always take our cue from foreign nations, and America is a nation that we often take a look at. The American will die for his flag. Anywhere a fallen American soldier is never left behind. And if peradventure it happens, they go back at all costs to get that one American, even if he's dead. They preach patriotism, they teach patriotism, they carry patriotism. It is engrafted in the heart of the American. How do we engraft the love of nationhood, this nation Nigeria, in the heart of the Nigerian, enough to die for? So help us chart the change or the course towards the Nigeria that we need and the role of citizens. How do we begin to build it?
Thank you, madam. What we need is revolution.
Mm-hmm. That was very direct. What type of revolution?
Revolution of the mind. It is not revolution of the sword. It is not the kind of revolution that we take to the street or all this. We need revolution of the. Let us search our conscience. There is what is called conscience in the mind of everybody. You have your conscience, I have mine. Those in the government have theirs. What I'm doing, am I doing the right thing? Can Nigeria become great with the way I'm doing? That's what I call revolution of the mind. And that is why I said we cannot change Nigeria without changing Nigeria. Nigerians have to be reorientated. That is it. Our founding father, you see, the thing is, they said not to know what happened before one is born is to forever remain a child. We need to go back. History recall the past. It correlates it with the present before it make a positive projection into the future. In Nigeria, let's go back to pre-1914. It is 1914 that Nigeria was amalgamated. But let us go back to pre-1914. Are we Nigerian in 1914? That's why I like some of the policies of Bola Tinubu. Even if he is being blamed for the doldrum in which Nigeria is now, yes, let him be blamed. It will happen one day, and during the tenure of a person, it is happening during his tenure now. But I am sure it is full stop now. From him, Nigeria will take a turn, a positive path to greatness. That's it. It has started from him. We can feel the pain, we can bear it, but Nigeria will become a great nation. Now, the thing is, what I like in his policy is that, one, he said, let us start reciting the old national anthem and have a rethinking. He's bringing us back to the days of the old. And then, whether it is rumor or probably it is true, they said there is going to be a university that is going to call University of Nigerian Languages, where we will be teaching our own languages. We'll be using our language to learn and to make things work. If this thing is made in the US, everything will be written in the United Nations language. If through espionage or stolen technology this thing is taken to China and made exactly like this, Chinese language will be written. What language are we going to use in Nigeria? If we can make our own, let us say we are making it. So these are the things we need to think. We need to our youth, they have the mind, they are resilient, they are dogged, they are powerful, they have sinew energy, but they lack orientation. Let's think of how to make things work for ourselves. I said it the other time. I said we have our universities. We have in Nigerian universities, land mass is more than the actual building we have on it. What are we using with the lands? We have secondary schools that have enough land. What are we using with the land? For God's sake. But in the US or in the Europe and America and other climes that is not African, this place can be a university. But what they turn out in terms of output will be more. An average Israeli is a soldier. An average Nigerian should be a farmer. This economic hardship that we are facing in Nigeria now should make us to think of going back to the farm and make things work. It is said a farmer can never get hungry if he is in the farm, provided he is not indolent, because it is only an indolent farmer that become hungry when he is on the farm. There will always be something to eat. There will always be something to eat. Yam, cocoyam, plantain, and just anything that will sustain him until he gets to the village. So that we are hungry in Nigeria, we are shouting, oh, food, all this kind of thing. For God's sake, it's because we are indolent. We have so much based ourselves in the euphoria of Western orientation. And that is why we always look for white-collar job. An average Nigerian will build a house in a full plot and tar everywhere, cement everywhere. But a wise person will use part to build house and another part for agriculture. No Nigerian should even be buying tomato. Plant it in your compound. So these are the things that this thing will teach us. So the reality that is there is that we should dream of Nigeria becoming self-sufficient in terms of food. Anybody that is not hungry is not suffering.
Interesting. I wish we could go on and on the discussion today. Time is never our friend, but we'll round up by saying voices of Nigerians should not be missing in shaping the trajectories of governance. This is often missed either due to ignorance, aloofness, or sheer indolence. Not my word, but a word of a Nigerian who desires change and a better tomorrow. We want to thank our guest for being on the show today. We've been speaking with Dr. Omojeje, who is a historian as well as a political commentator. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you,
for
madam.
joining us on the program.
Thank you, my sister.
Well, I guess this will be the end of the show then.
Well, it's the end of the show today. It's not the end anywhere on Daybreak Africa. Is a continuation of information, continuation of education, and of course, when we have the time, we bring entertainment. We love to tell our guests that if you missed today's show, you can catch up on YouTube, where we post all our shows, our interviews, not just Daybreak alone, but all our programs on KAFTAN TV, and then you can follow. Please don't just only watch, comment, like, and of course, make sure you're here the next time to watch Daybreak Africa, the best program on television. I say so.
If you say so. Well, have a pleasant day, and I believe you've been able to pick one or two from today's show, and I hope that we decide to become good citizens of our nation wherever we find ourselves. Well, have a blessed day. I am Angela Daku.
I am Anire Binitie. Bye for now.
Yes, there is news on your device, but hearing an analyst's perspective is the icing on the cake that Daybreak Africa provides. Break. Start your day with prompt analysis of the latest news, trends,
Exactly, and then you see these people, they are so agile, they can do a lot of
politics,
We have to go back to that regional system. That is the foundation of this country, for God's sake.
entertainment, fashion, culinary skills,
So first I'm going to be pouring the oil inside the pot, and I will...
religious and cultural events amongst others on Daybreak Africa.
For a rich mix of analysis on current issues, tune in daily from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on channel 480 and 124 on Startimes.